Huffman, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Castor. And just a few words about my friend from Louisiana's opening remarks. I actually got my hopes up when I heard him describe these terrible impacts of the climate crisis that are coming. We know they're coming. We know what they're going to do to places like South Louisiana. And he then described a duty to future generations, which I found very heartening and encouraging, saying that we need to overcome politics and confront this crisis for the sake of preserving a livable planet for these guys. Unfortunately, it went downhill pretty quickly from there. We started hearing the same old excuses that China is a bigger emitter than us, and therefore we can't focus on emissions until we get China in line, and that somehow our fossil fuels are cleaner than the Russians and the Saudis, and therefore we ought to just crank it up and go out there and meet all of this global energy demand with our fossil fuels, which are cleaner, which are really less bad than the really bad. And unfortunately, that's like saying never mind to all of that good stuff about the climate crisis, to all of these nice words about your generation, folks. It's like saying never mind. We've got money to make. We've got oil to sell. And that's politics. So if we're serious about overcoming politics and doing the right thing to preserve the planet for the younger generation, leading a global fossil fuel race to the bottom cannot be the answer. Now, on this subject of our oceans, and Chair Castor, I'm so glad that we're focusing on this. I'd like to start my questions on fisheries, which is something I've been working a lot on. So Dr. Spinrad, I'll begin with you. I did a national listening tour because I've been working on legislation to reauthorize the Magnuson Act. Everywhere I went, every region of the country, I heard how climate change is already impacting fisheries, whether it's shifting stocks or habitat changes or acute disruptions like fisheries disasters. It is here and now, and yet our institutions were developed at a time when we weren't really thinking about any of that. And some of the more commercially important fish species, in fact, are moving north to find cooler water. This creates all kinds of conflicts between regional councils, maybe between us and Canada and Mexico in some cases. So it's a whole new world of fishery management that this climate crisis is presenting us with. And I wondered if you could just speak broadly to what NOAA is doing so far to address these changes in fisheries management, and what resources do you need to meet the moment?
Thank you, Congressman Huffman. This is a very serious issue and one we're applying a lot of resources and a lot of attention to from a number of different perspectives. As a scientific agency, as an environmental intelligence agency, what we're trying to do is not dissimilar to the way our national security community looks at is how will things change in the future and can we position ourselves to deal with that? So we have an investment in what we call the Climate Ecosystems and Fisheries Initiative, which really asks how are, for example, Alaskan pollock becoming Russian pollock? What is happening to the lobstering industry and where are those lobsters going to go? What will change due to our best, in the context of our best knowledge? So just as we try to develop predictions and forecasts of atmospheric and weather phenomena, we're trying to do the same thing with all species in this initiative. The other part of this, of course, is a redoubled effort to take advantage of the extraordinary traditional knowledge that we have around the country. Generations of fishers, generations of local communities have knowledge about the patterns that they've seen over the last few years. We're trying to, if you will, quantify that, do a QA, QC on those kind of data to incorporate those in our predictive capabilities and co-develop the policies associated with what will our fisheries community look like. And we need industry involved in this discussion as well. So we've been doing similar roundtables to yours. I would add there's another angle on this as well, and that is, we have established aquaculture opportunity areas, and we are looking at how might that, what is the art of the possible associated with really doing this in a sustainable, economically viable manner. So we're developing the initial environmental impact statements associated with those, and hope that that's part of the solution as well.
I don't have much time left, but Assistant Secretary Medina, I would love to hear from you how you are working with other countries to manage essential fisheries in the face of the climate crisis.
Thank you, Congressman. There is a huge problem here. 23% of fish stocks are predicted to shift from their historical migration routes and habitats by 2030. That's an awful lot of people whose food source is going to move somewhere else immediately, and that's a recipe for crisis and for conflict. So we are working with the Food and Agricultural Organization to increase technical assistance, to build climate-ready fisheries management, and hopefully with better forecasting of these kinds of shifts and migrations from agencies like NOAA, and with our partners at USAID, we can take those forecasts and aim our assistance right where we need it.
All right, thanks. I yield back.